Okay. All right. I thought I'd make this video about. I want to talk about double-mindedness. You know, being double-minded. I kind of came from this, and this is not to take a shot at who I'm talking about. You know, one of my subscribers. You know, I talk to him quite often on the phone, and I think my issue is I become very fond of the people that I talk to. And I started seeing, you know, seeing my people more like siblings, you know what I'm saying? And I tend to care about people's situations probably a little more than I should. And I get a little triggered sometimes when I'm talking to people that are, you know, and it seemed like, you know, I don't know, I spend countless hours talking to people. I've been an open book, very accessible, you know, to people for the most part. And it troubles me when I talk to people on the phone for hours at a time, day after day. And I look into your state statutes, show you what your law says in your states. And when I show you exactly what the law says, and then when I get in these conversations after people go to court and they kind of undermine what I'm showing them, even though I showed them what the law says. They undermine, you know, their strategies, even though but they'll implement what I'm showing them with some other processes they got from somebody else on the internet that you can't even find nowhere in no law book where they got these processes from. Shit that's made up. You can't find it nowhere except for from the channel where you actually heard of that. You can't go nowhere and hear it nowhere else except for that person's channel, because they got some type of esoteric type knowledge that's supposed to be something that supersedes what's already laid out before us. Something that's already been established before any of us were even born. And the problem is, like, too many people I speak with get wooed by other stuff. And I guess it gets kind of draining to me when I'm talking on these videos, and I'm, you know, trying to encourage, you know, people to study for themselves. Study the actual laws. Don't study processes that somebody then gave you that you can't even find any kind of validity in the laws about it. What does the law say about it? Now, no bills, no acts, no statutes, no laws, no, you know, even the terms that we read. A lot of us, we kind of embrace whatever is regurgitated across the internet, and we just say it without even looking it up. So what happened today? I was on a three-way conversation with a guy who had, you know, he had a hearing on, I think it was Friday, this past Friday. And he was saying the power of attorney didn't work. I'm like, what did you file in there, man? Now keep in mind, I've been talking to this guy for years on the phone. On and off, of course. It wasn't consecutive years, but you know, I took my break from the internet, and eventually we kind of reconnected. And we've been cool all this time, you know. But for my very first conversation with this guy, I told him, I said, bro, you know your biggest weakness in court, man, is probably the fact that you talk too much. I said, don't take that the wrong way. I'm just saying you can really, everything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. And you can really talk yourself into a trap if you're just saying too much in a courtroom. And he has a bad habit of doing that. And I know he does it because he does it on the phone with me. And he's also explained to me what's happened in previous hearings where he was explaining this and explaining that and explaining this and explaining that. I say, you talking too much, man. You do too much talking. You should get on one strategy, use one strategy, and stick to that one strategy. It only takes one solid strategy to shut a case down. You don't have to, you don't have to hit all these various angles like you're trying to expose every single bit of fraud that you thought of within one hearing. I told him that. I've been telling him that for years, repeatedly. But he still has a habit of talking too much. I leave him alone because everybody have their own journey. Life is a teacher. If you won't listen to someone that's telling you some wise words, life itself will be a teacher. I've even learned that myself. So what happened today? We're on a three-way call with another guy who I found out was actually dodging his call. He thought the guy was locked up. So I called him on three-way to check on him myself. He answered the phone right away. I'm like, and he explained why he didn't answer the phone. He was really just dodging the man's call. And I thought it was hilarious. I said, okay, my bad. Next time I know when somebody, not answering your call, they probably not answering your calls. But he'll answer my calls, but he answer your calls. So I know not from now on, don't call nobody on three-way like that. It's just like, I don't know why he ain't answering. Because that happened with somebody else that I know too. They were like, he ain't answering his phone, man. I'm like, look, man, he just be busy, man. But back to the topic. I called the guy on three-way and it turned into a three-way conversation. He explained why he was just not answering his call, but it turned into a discussion, three-way discussion, talking about court processes. And I was like, man, he was telling me how the guy was talking to him, on that, talking too much again. I said, man, I couldn't help but laugh. I said, look, man, we just had the same type of debate right before I called you on this three-way call, man. Same type of debate. I said, and so it turned into it, and it got like that all over again. Because here he was, it's like, he got to get the last word, and he just will not listen. He just will not fucking listen. And so he was doubting the power of attorney. Though we already been over the statutes in all these different states about the power of attorney and the power of it. He's even heard my partner David. I'm just gonna say his first name, David. His remedy, how he stood on, using, and he had an attorney, and he was able to stand on it, making sure that the judge wasn't trying to administer his estate without his consent. Say, give me an affidavit showing where I actually gave you power of attorney to administer my estate. He stood on that, and he got his remedy. Told y'all about that in the previous video. But I had this same guy on that three-way conversation just about a week or so ago. He explained the whole court process of what happened, and he realized how strong that power of attorney really is. But this dude who had this hearing last Friday, I think it was Friday, he used the power of attorney, but he had a whole bunch of other shit he filed in his court case at the same time. All these different processes that he got from all over the internet. And so when you're using all that, first and foremost, if you just file something in there, bam, it's not attached to emotion or nothing. It's just in there. You're not giving no instructions about it. You just filed it in there. If you don't file something in a court case properly, number one, if you just file it in there, it's not attached to nothing. It's just like walking up to a counter, putting money on the counter and walking off. Walk up to a bar, put money on the counter and walk off. The waitress don't know what to do with that other than put it in her pocket. You never gave no instructions with it. You're supposed to attach it to something. But my point is, he filed a whole bunch of stuff in the court case along with the power of attorney. Then he had a hearing this past Friday, and he in there long-winded again, talking too much again. He told me himself what he was explaining to them. I'm like, you said all that? He said, yeah. So he, with his own confession, telling me what he said, which was too much. It had nothing to do with the power of attorney. If I'm using the power of attorney, I'm specifically talking about your authority to administer my estate. That's it. I ain't got nothing to talk about. And we ain't talking about nothing else other than what I'm giving you instructions to do. If I'm gonna give you authority to administer my estate, if I'm gonna appoint you have you operate in your fiduciary capacity as a trustee of this case, I'm gonna give you some instructions. But other than that, you don't have authority to do nothing else with my estate. That's the only kind of argument I'll be having with as long as my power of attorney's in there. But when he got that in there, and he got this in there, and got that in there, and the W4 sandwiches and all this other, this IRS this, all these old different processes that he accumulated over the internet, and you throw all that in there together, you create this big ass gumbo, this big ass pot of gumbo, and filed it right into your court case, and you thinking it's all powerful because you got all this shit in here. That's just like this here. What I was talking about, you got when girls be fighting and they just throwing haymakers. You hoping something hit. You hoping something can shut this case down, and I'm throwing in here. There's no set strategy in that. That's double-minded. That's what you call double-minded. There's a scripture. What was that say? It was a scripture that said, a double-minded man. What does it say about that? There it is. It says, I want to get the quote correctly. I want to get it right. See if I can find it. Here's James 1:8. It says, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. That's what I thought about. Because you're trying all types of stuff at one time. There's no set strategy as to what you're going to use, how you're going to go about shutting this case down. You're trying all types of shit. Your mind is everywhere. And if you go in the courtroom just talking, saying this and trying to explain that, and say explain that, explain this, explain that, all of them like different angles that you're trying to use to shut the case down, to get them to listen to you, along with all these different strategies. Keep in mind, we're not going to even factor in the fact that they don't tell them how you worded your paperwork. Because I asked him to send me what he filed in the court in his court case. He never sent it to me. So I'm like, I got triggered. Let me go back to why I was triggered. I was triggered because he used the power of attorney along with other shit. And that these strategies that we learn on the internet, that we hear about on the internet, that sounds good if it's explained by the one that sells you on it. It only sounds good to people who don't read. If you don't study shit, you just sound lazy. You just kind of lazy about shit, and you don't really want to take in what you don't want to fact check nothing. You don't want to actually verify with some actual credible sources. And we're not talking about reputations. We're not talking about people's reputable names on the internet. That's not a valid source. Okay. It's not credible sources. Just because it's somebody who everybody knows on the internet, that does not make them credible. If they're not showing you where you can find this in the laws, where you can find it in the acts, in the the bills, the statutes, the codes, nothing. You can't find it in nothing. None of these government websites where you got the law, where you got the actual laws and the statutes and all the codes and all those different the definitions in the law dictionary. You can't find none of this shit nowhere in none of these credible sources. You can only find it when you go to their page. You file that in there in your court case. All these different so-called remedies with a power of attorney. You don't mention nothing got nothing to do with the power of attorney when you get to court. You only talking about some other shit that's probably got something to do with these other processes you're talking about. And then you get railroaded, call MROS, and then you say the power of attorney don't work. That shit is insulting to me. It's insulting to me, especially when I talk on the phone with people for hours at a time, day after day, and I look in your state and show you what your state statutes say. I show you what the law say in your state. And then you kind of either you dismiss it or you want to add something with it. And you don't really apply it properly. And then some of y'all can't read and write properly either. So I'm not speaking to everybody that's watching, but we all know who can't read and write properly. You know, they don't type their documents up. Proper grammar matters. You can't just type up some shit and it be sloppy. It's not even formatted right. And then you say a whole bunch of stuff that's not even, it's like what they call it, frivolous. They call that stuff frivolous when you just putting some shit together. You trying to word some shit. What you say can and will be used against you. So you can't just throw something together and call it a power of attorney and it's not a real power of attorney. You can't throw something together, name it an affidavit, and it's not sworn on a penalty of perjury and it's not notarized. You can call it an affidavit all you want to. It's not an affidavit. By definition, it's not an affidavit. You can't make up stuff and then when you try something, it's half-assed, and then when you don't get the results you want to get, you shit on the person that taught you about it. You shit on that person as if what they're showing you wasn't valid, or they don't listen to it. They do what they want to do. No, you do what you want to do. And that's why you're not getting the results you get. But I got triggered because I'm on this call and this joker, he stated just trying to discredit this strategy when he's not doing shit right. He overtalks himself too. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. A double mind is having in the mind opposite or opposing views at different times. This is what happens when you're throwing all these different processes together. All these different processes. You're gonna try this. I'm gonna try Rick W's. I'm gonna try Amino Cyrus. I'm gonna try, Yusufel. I'm gonna try all these, and I'm not shitting on these names. I'm saying how y'all run to these different names that are on the internet. Y'all run to different people. You don't validate nothing that you hear. You don't look up nothing. You like to run and watch videos, and you won't validate what they're teaching you. You won't study the stuff for yourself. And then when you try to apply it, the paperwork is shitty. If the paperwork is shitty, you're not gonna get nothing done. You can't, and so you can't. It don't matter who you run to for a process or for some remedy. If you're not applying the remedy, the process properly, even if it is a good process, if you're not applying it properly and you don't know what you're doing or why you're doing it, you're gonna get railroaded anyway. If you're not one that actually studies and research for yourself, so you can get understanding, so you can get it in here, you're gonna get the same results, and you're gonna keep running these rat races for years to come. There's a scripture, right? Another one says, to be a double-minded man, to be double-minded is the same as having a double heart. I mean, you have two. You're not solid even here. Not only are you're everywhere, your mind is everywhere. Trying to think of this, trying to think of that, think of this. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try that guy. I wonder what he doing. Oh, they getting remedy over there. I'm gonna go listen. You trying all this shit. Your mind is here, and you double-minded here too. Like you got two hearts. It's like you got two different ways. So many ways you're thinking. You're not stable at all. And when you're trying all these different remedies, because you just listening to everybody, but you won't study for yourself. It's one of the reasons why I'm so I'm anal about listening to people. I was just in a class today. Where I was actually listening to a guy, Mansa Mahatha, something like that. I think that's his name. Mansa Mahatha. He's teaching about how to discharge your bills properly. How to get remedy with your monthly bills. The only reason I paid for his class. It was only $50. Can't lose like that. And I got one hell of a teaching today. And the only reason I paid for it is because I'd already studied what he'd been teaching on his videos. He had already, and I've been talking about in the last few videos of mine anyway. I'm talking about Federal Reserve Act, talking about the Bills of Exchange Act, the different codes where it's speaking about the duties and responsibilities of the banks, what they do with the applications. Those videos when I'm talking about that, I'm studying this stuff. So I started out with a clear understanding as to what he was teaching and what he was getting, what he was teaching, because he gave credible sources to read that stuff at. So when he wanted to, sell a class, I jumped on it because me checking him out and validating what he's teaching, I have no problem paying for something he has to offer, especially when it's affordable like that. So I jumped on it. This is how you're supposed to research. This is how you learn stuff. There's nothing wrong with, following somebody's channel, learning some stuff from them. But when if you're not gonna study it on your own, you might as well just hang it up. You just gathering information. You just like, what do they call it? A hoarder, info hoarder. You know what I'm saying? You just gathering information, but you're not really trying to get understanding about what you're doing. So you end up being double-minded. And that's what triggered me today, because the brother I was talking to today was very double-minded in the way he's thinking, the way he operates. He's trying all types of stuff at one time. He's not getting no remedy. He won't listen. He continues to do what he wants to do because he thinks he got it all. He thinks he got it all figured out. And he's not the first one I've run into like that, that's been fighting child support for years. Can't get no damn remedy, but he won't listen to a motherfucker that done beat it. He even challenged me because let's see if you beat it twice. Let's see if you beat it twice. I'm like, it's crazy. But anyway, watch me win. I don't worry about trying to prove nothing to nobody, because I've already been through the storm already, and I'm at peace over here. But I did get triggered today, so I thought I'd share that with y'all. Don't be double-minded, y'all. Study, let people, study. Always be teachable. I'm even teachable. I'm still teachable. I'm always going to be willing to learn something. Always willing to be corrected. If you're doing something the wrong way, you learn that you did it the wrong way, I got to switch that shit up. Obviously, that shit wasn't on point. So I did something wrong there. And so we got to be willing to be corrected. And, we're not going to be, you're not willing to be corrected. Life has a way of making you do it anyway. Or you just die like that. Same way. But I'm going to get on off of here, y'all. Hopefully you already like and subscribe. And we'll see y'all in the next video. Don't be double-minded. Okay? Don't be double-minded. Talk to y'all next time.